This is The Reconnected Woman, hosted by tahlsskye. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Reconnected Woman podcast. Guys, this is a topic that I have wanted to talk about for a long time, and I feel like I have so much to say on it. If you have been following me over on my Instagram, tahlsskye, you would know that a lot has changed for me. And a big part of the work that I do today is actually blood work. Now, the reason I am so passionate about blood work and getting your bloods taken is after all the havoc that I experienced over the last few years. So for those who are not aware, I've been on a massive healing journey where I really had to reconnect to my body, and I had to understand what was going on underneath the surface, because for a long time I was very focused on the external. And a lot of what I did in the past, pushing my body to extremes, being extremely disconnected from my body, caused so much damage. I had acne for the first time in my life. I lost a lot of my hair. My hair would just not grow. I had extreme fatigue. My gut was always bloated. I just had a lot going on. And first thing I did was go to the doctors, for my skin. What did the doctors say? Everything's normal. It's funny because I often look back at how I looked then. I would have walked into that doctor's office with a face full of acne, hair literally looking like Cynthia from Rugrats, if you know, you know. Just bags under my eyes, honestly looked like a fucking corpse. And they're like, everything's normal, love. You're all good. And I'm like, everything is not normal. It's not. And it's funny because when I heard that, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe everything is normal. And you almost gaslight yourself. And what did they want to do? They wanted to put me on the pill for my skin. I think it's called Roaccutane, which is an incredibly damaging medication. And I'm not here to say do and don't, you do you. For me, it didn't align with my values. I'd already done so much damage to my body that I wasn't willing to have that Band-Aid fix. And I'm really glad that I didn't go down that route, because now I've seen so many improvements. So went to the doctor, tried to get medication. Not once did they ask about my history. Not once did they ask about my nutrition or the root cause or whatever it is. And a lot of people don't realize that the doctors study medicine. They don't study nutrition. I think it's 3 weeks out of their 7-year degree. And don't quote me on that. I don't know how many years their degree is for. I know it's a long time. That is how long they learn about nutrition. And I think a lot of people's issues these days are from nutrition deficiencies, the high inflammation we're exposed to in this world, stress. There's so many deeper issues. And obviously we all know that a lot of the time the medications are a Band-Aid fix. And unfortunately, a lot of women out there are so desperate to not feel the way that they're feeling. So they do go on these things, and I can understand why, because it is extremely tempting. I can't tell you how uncomfortable I felt in my mind and body when I was dealing with acne as a fitness coach, and when my metabolism was cooked, because that was another thing. I could not lose weight. I was gaining weight rapidly. I literally had a fucking moon head, and I was so embarrassed and ashamed. And then that really affected the way that I was showing up. And the way that I would describe how I felt was just out of control of my body. I couldn't even diet on 1,500 calories because my metabolism was that cooked, and I had so much inflammation going on. I remember seeing a skin specialist for about a year and just was not getting anywhere with my skin. And I look back at that time and I'm like, no wonder, because you were just treating the external. You can't just keep sticking Band-Aids on everything and expecting it to heal a broken arm. It's not going to happen. And this is what a lot of women don't realize, is a lot of their issues is internal. You can buy the best skincare products in the world, but if you are not dealing with what is going on internally, it's not going to work. Okay. I was buying all the hair serums. I was seeing the hairdresser. I was doing the fucking scalp massaging and the oiling and all the things, and my hair wasn't growing. Right. And I look back at why, and I understand it now so deeply. So what changed my life was getting my bloods read by a functional health practitioner. I finally felt so seen. And it's funny because there was a part of me when I saw everything that was going on that was like, holy shit, this is a lot and this is overwhelming. But then that other part of me was like, wow, finally. And then being on my own journey pursued me to then go and down this path. And this is what I'm extremely passionate about now. And I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you today if I hadn't done that. So what we found within my bloods was extremely high levels of inflammation. My liver was very burdened. And so what generally happens when we have high levels of inflammation, that then affects a lot of our body, okay? Our immune system is always activated, which is a lot of stress on the body. Your liver is generally impacted. And when we think about our liver is our main detox pathway. And so when our liver isn't detoxing things properly, we have a lot of toxins circulating in our body. And so I had extremely high estrogen. And this is what happens. A lot of people jump to hormones first, but a lot of the time hormones are imbalanced from something else. So we got to the root cause, and I had very high levels of estrogen, very low levels of progesterone. And so the high levels of estrogen circulating in my body meant that I was then having acne, because if my toxins weren't circulating through my liver, it was then coming out through my skin. Now, I lost a lot of hair and my hair wouldn't grow, and that's because I had malabsorption. So what was happening was I had a very impaired gut, and I had SIBO, for those who know what SIBO is, and my body wasn't able to absorb nutrients. So by that point, I was eating quite well. I was eating organic, I was eating grass-fed, I was drinking water, and on the test, I had extreme dehydration and I was malnourished. I'm like, how the fuck am I malnourished? Like, I'm not underweight. I always thought malnourishment was like someone that was very skinny, but it's not. So again, you can be a very healthy human on paper and you can be eating very well, but if you have imbalances in your body, you're probably going to have some level of an absorption issue. And that's what was happening with me. So I wasn't absorbing fats. And when we think about fats, they are key for healthy hormones, for your reproductive health, for your hair, for your skin, for your nails. Everyone harps on about protein, fiber, carbs. Not many people talk about fats. And underfueling my body on healthy fats was a big part of why I got to this place in the first place. So when I worked with one of my coaches, he was a male, and he had me on, I think it was about 9 grams of fat at one point when I was competing. And I just look back at that and I fucking cringe. It actually like breaks my heart, because for a female, she should not be on 9 grams of fat. And that has just caused so much damage, through so many areas. And this is why I'm so big on healthy fats, because for a woman, this really alters your hormones and it can cause a lot of damage to your body if you do this for long periods of time. And that's why I wish a lot of men would start to understand women's bodies and really think about their reproductive system, think about their hormones, think about all of that, because no body is worth having if your body is going to feel the way that it felt for me. So there was a whole host of other problems, but it made so much sense as to why my body was feeling the way that it did. Even the fatigue. I mean, I had so many imbalances going on, very low levels of like vitamin D, magnesium, etc. And like I was taking supplements at that time, but not all supplements are created equal. There is some really poor quality ones out there, and a lot of the time, the ones from the chemist just don't have quality ingredients or a good enough dosage to actually help your body. And when I think about why these things were happening to me, it was like years of restriction. I mean, being on the pill, the high levels of stress that I had, all of the food that I was eating with a lot of artificial sweeteners, it was just causing havoc to my gut. And this is happening to a lot of people out there. I had someone yesterday, and this is very common, and I did a post on this as well. It is not always about being more disciplined. I've had multiple clients come to me and their body has just not responded to the deficit. Now, I did testing on this client yesterday and she had extremely high levels of inflammation. She had a thyroid that wasn't functioning optimally. She had blood sugar dysregulation and she had a lot of imbalances going on in her body. Your body is not going to want to let go of fat easily when you have these imbalances, especially with the thyroid. And so a lot of women are just feeling so horrible and so disconnected from their bodies because of what's going on internally. And we are just accepting how we're feeling because we are constantly being told everything is normal. Now, I'm going to tell you why we are being told everything is normal when it is very clearly not. And what I want to say firstly is you know your body best. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably because something isn't right. And every single client that I've had that got told their bloods were normal, I've looked at them and they are far from it. So this is why you are getting told that. When I'm analyzing your blood test results, I'm using optimal ranges rather than the standard reference ranges that doctors rely on. Now, the reason that I do that is because normal doesn't always mean healthy. Your local GP is using current blood test ranges that are based on 95% of the population. But when we look at 95% of the population, at least 60% have a chronic disease. You heard that right. 60% of the population have a chronic disease. 40% of adults have 2 or more chronic diseases. One of the most wild stats is that at least 40% of adults would be diagnosed with cancer. 20% experience mental health disorders, and to be honest, I think the stat's probably higher, and at least 16% have an autoimmune condition. That is the benchmark, okay? So they're comparing their ranges to like a 70-year-old unhealthy male who might have cancer, smoke cigarettes every day. Like, of course, we look normal as relatively young, healthy women. And so their ranges are more so there to identify disease. And this is no shade to them. We need that. It is incredibly important to be able to identify disease, and a lot of doctors can help with that. So again, it's not me versus them, but it's just the reality of, what's going on. A big part of the work that I do is preventing disease so you don't get to that point, and also looking at the subtle imbalances, because those subtle imbalances is what is causing you to have the fatigue and the acne and the hair loss. And so just because you may fall within that normal range does not mean you're functioning at your best. It does make me sad to know how many women are going to the doctors and, are experiencing debilitating periods or having irregular cycles. And the first thing that they say is, hey, let's go on the pill. Never is there a question surrounding why that's happening in the first place. Going there and saying that there's something not right in my body. And again, medication. But you guys have to do the digging, and you have to be an advocate for yourself and understand what's going on underneath the surface. And I just think that every single person out there should be getting their bloods taken, and be proactive, not reactive. And what I mean by that is, don't wait till something is bad to take action on your health or to understand your body deeper. When it comes to bloods, you should be treating it kind of like a car service or your dental checkup. A lot of people out there are never going to the dentist, and they go when they have a cavity or they go when they have a rotten tooth, and then they need a root canal, and then it's way more money, and then it's way more issues down the track. Where if they were to go to the dentist every 6 months or once a year and they got their checkup and they got their clean, then they're able to see what's going on and prevent things from getting worse later down the track. It's the same with your car. I get my car serviced every time it's due for one, and I don't have any issues going on with my car because I am proactive and I get it serviced regularly, and we see what's going on underneath the surface. But there's a lot of people that don't do that, and that was myself. I didn't get my car serviced, and I would wait till the light was flashing and the engine light wasn't working, and I would wait till things got bad before taking action. And what did it do in the long run? It costed me far more money, and there was a lot more issues down the track. And so your body is no different. You should be getting regular services for your body. Check what's going underneath the surface. You think you might be okay and feel good, but I guarantee there's probably going to be something going on. I have a lot of women who come to me that are like, you know what, I don't necessarily have a lot of symptoms, but I just want to see what's going on. And I look at their bloods and I'm like, girl, you think you're feeling good now? You wait till we actually get your body back to balance. And I guess like something that I see is with every single blood that I have done, there has been something going on, something that is out of balance, because that's just what happened. And again, it's the world that we live in. We are exposed to a lot of toxins, a lot of high inflammatory food. I mean, the stress that we now have is extremely high. A lot of people aren't getting enough vitamin D. A lot of people are just not treating their body how they're meant to, and they're wondering why they feel the way that they feel. So if you are someone who is experiencing anything that is out of the normal, like whether that is acne, hair loss, fatigue, gut issues, bloating, irregular cycles, maybe you just are fucking struggling to get through the day, especially mums. Mums need to get their bloods taken because you are very depleted. Okay, you have just gone through a major adjustment to your life. You have grown a human, which has taken a lot of your nutrients from you. You probably had a lot of imbalances prior to pregnancy that don't go. And then when you're growing a baby, it's taking more from you. I mean, then you throw in lack of sleep, lack of nourishment. There's a lot going on. And I think a lot of pregnant women or women postpartum almost gaslight themselves into thinking, oh, I feel this shit because I've just had a baby. And of course, you're not going to feel your best because there's a lot of deprivation. However, you could feel a lot better than you currently feel. Just did 2 bloods for 2 mums, incredibly low iron. I'm like, how are you even standing up or getting through the day? Lots of inflammation, lots of imbalances going on. And so again, they just brushed it off thinking, well, it's just because I'm a mum. And it's like, no, you can feel far better than you do. And this is what I want to start normalizing is people understanding their body, getting their bloods taken, see what's going on, and not settling for normal if things don't feel normal, and actually going, okay, things might look normal, but I want great and I want optimal. And I think a lot of people don't get these things done because they are quite scared of what may come up. But I think there's nothing scarier than living and feeling the way that you're feeling. And it's honestly not this big, deep, scary process. The way that I do it when I do blood analysis and health protocols or I work with my clients is in a way where it really revolves around your life. Your life doesn't have to revolve around this. You don't have to change everything. It's often simple swaps. You know, for me, I love it. Like I feel amazing. And it might just be having the correct tailored supplements to you. It might be swapping what you're already having to a different product. You're already buying bread. Can you buy this gut-friendly bread that's low inflammatory? You're already buying these eggs. Can we get pasture raised? You're already buying, this milk. Can we get a better brand? So often it's just simple switches to what you are already doing. Can we get some more quality sleep? Can you read a book instead of scrolling before bed? These simple switches that make such a big difference. But I think a lot of people just get very overwhelmed and think it's going to be this big crazy thing, because I'm not going to lie, when I did my first protocol, I didn't really like the approach, and that's fine. But it was extremely, extremely restrictive. And back then I had a history of binge eating. And so for me, that was quite damaging because it was so restrictive and I didn't have a lot of guidance, that it just wasn't sustainable for me. And this is why with my way of being and my approach is I've come from a history of binge eating and disordered eating. And then I've come from, the optimization side, and I very much meet in the middle. Your mind, body, and soul is incredibly important to me. So we take an approach that is quite not easy, but like enjoyable. And when you start to feel the benefits of feeling amazing and your body starts working how it's meant to, it's all worth it. And what we're doing here is not necessarily a protocol for 12 weeks. It's for life. It's changing your lifestyle, changing your habits. And what I also want to say is it takes time. It really does. My skin is finally feeling clear after years of dealing with the acne. My hair's finally growing, and that took time. It wasn't overnight. It was consistent efforts. But again, what made it easier was actually making this my lifestyle rather than this 12-week challenge thing. That wasn't the vibe. So just to kind of sum this up, you know your body best, and you probably don't know your body best because you're very disconnected from it. So what I'm trying to teach you on this podcast is to reconnect, to understand your body. But I also think that there is that intuition that you have that is telling you something's not right. Get your bloods taken, get them read by a functional health practitioner, not just your doctor, because we use different ranges. Start understanding your body more, and also know that you have the power to feel amazing, but you've got to take that action. So if you need help, please either inquire or reach out on DMs, and I'd be more than happy. And if you have any suggestions for any podcasts that you want, kind of diving more into these topics or anything, my DMs are always open for suggestions.